Now, calling all volunteers, people who give up their precious time to help other people completely free of charge. Do you know that this radio station alone functions because of volunteers? The fact that actually people decide that they want to work for free because they believe in an organisation and they want to give something back. On a Wednesday, we have the privilege of joining with our friends at Compassion UK. In fact, this whole breakfast show is sponsored by Compassion UK. And this week sees the end of Volunteer Week. It started on the 1st and today is the last day. So what better opportunity than to bring on two for the price of one? We've got Laura Beth and we've also got Tara. Now, good morning to you both, ladies.
Morning, Gareth.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Now, this is going to be very exciting because you're both in different parts of the world, sort of, aren't you? So I think, from guessing, I think Tara is in Ireland.
That's correct, yeah.
And I think that Laura is in the south of the country. Is that right?
That's right, yeah, I'm in Bristol.
Bristol. Now, did I meet either of you when we came down to do the breakfast show live on site?
No.
Well, what better opportunity to meet you both now then? So just give us a bit of a rundown because you both work heavily in volunteering. We'll start with Laura first of all. Tell us your title and your role at Compassion UK.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a regional volunteer specialist at Compassion. So I've got the privilege of working alongside our volunteers that are based in the Midlands, in Wales and Northern Ireland, although I have dabbled in Ireland as well. But my
dabbled in Ireland, I like that phrase. Now and again, if I really have to.
It's a pleasure. I get to work with Tara. Yeah, my role is really around recruiting, training, supporting volunteers in their role. It's identifying opportunities for them to serve and organising that involvement really, and generally just being that encouragement as they do what they do.
And Tara, you're an actual volunteer who's based in Ireland.
Yes, I sure am. But if you talk to our head of partnerships, May, she'd like to call us compassion advocates, so be careful because she might get onto you. But yeah, so I'm volunteering at Compassion in Ireland. There's a much smaller team in Ireland, but we're supported by the UK. And yeah, so I've been volunteering for about 2 years. My dad was involved with Compassion as he was a pastor. So that's kind of how I got into knowing about it.
Now, volunteering, it usually seems to be something done, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it usually tends to be somebody of an older age who has maybe retired. They haven't got young children anymore to battle through, and they've got a little bit more time on their hands and they want to give something back. Now, you don't look like you're over 60, Tara. I'll be honest with you.
That's great. The moisturizer's working. Yeah, no, I'm 21 years old. So yeah,
so
that's
tell us whereabouts you are in your life. Have you graduated now? Are you currently in education?
So I just finished my second year of my undergrad in Dublin in Trinity College. So yeah, 2 more years left of my degree. So quite full on in terms of the academic side of things.
And you say it's quite full on. You've decided to add even more to your plate because you're volunteering with Compassion UK. Why did you want to do that?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of things. I think, I just really felt passionate about the mission since a very young age. My parents have supported children through Compassion and just loved getting to hear the stories as we wrote letters to one another, and just knew that I wanted to be a part of it. I started like a small business during the lockdown period when my exams got cancelled for my A-levels, I think you would call it over there. And yeah, I just knew that if I wanted to support like organization through my business, it would be Compassion. And so that's kind of how they started kind of asking me to do different events, and that's how the whole thing started. So yeah.
And that's what Compassion, and many people are celebrating this week because it is Volunteer Week. So Tara, You're a volunteer, and Laura, I so want to call both of you Tara and Lara. It sounds like it would be an absolute great girl band name. But Laura, Laura Beth, you tell us about Volunteer Week. It's about to come to an end, and volunteers are crucial to Compassion, aren't they?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's great to have this week, National Volunteers Week, as you said, because it's really about shining a spotlight on our volunteers and taking that opportunity to highlight their incredible service to the ministry and to celebrate them. We believe that volunteers are never just volunteers. They are an integral part of the team, as you said, for most charities and organizations. And they certainly are the heartbeat behind what we do at Compassion. We couldn't do so much of what we do without them. And so the theme of National Volunteers Week this year is a movement of change makers. And that's exactly what this team is. It's a community of passionate people who believe that God has placed a call on their lives to be part of sparking that hope for a future that is free from poverty. And so they are making real and lasting change. They influence their spheres. They encourage others to get involved. They're advocates, as Tara said, they're lending their voices so that we can come alongside the children that we serve and help provide them with that hope, with opportunities, and empower them to find their own voices and be active participants in their own lives. And that is a change maker. That's what we want. And so it's great to have this week, as I said, to honor and celebrate those volunteers who are really at the forefront of what we do.
And the thing is about volunteering, so we've only mentioned so far, or at least I have, the fact that somebody gives up their time for the organisation, the charity or the business. But from my own experiences, the individual gets a lot from it as well. Now, if I cast my mind back to when I was getting into the radio industry 20 odd years ago now, if it hadn't have been for the voluntary opportunities and the experience that I learned then, I'm not quite sure that I would have got the passion and the love for what I'm doing now, and it would have ended up in a career. So there's also a lot that the individual who gives their time can get back.
Absolutely, absolutely. I expect Tara can speak more into that as a volunteer and what she gets. But I know there's so many highlights and benefits to serving with us. And, you get to be part, as I said, of a community of like-minded people, meet new people that are passionate about the same thing. And, you get to experience all kinds of events or work with us in churches. There's various different roles. But it's great to be a part of. But maybe Tara can speak to that.
Well, I will tell you what we'll do. We're going to take a little break there and we'll come back to Tara because I want to ask about this. It all started with a letter, and it all started for Tara when she got involved with Compassion actually sponsoring. So we're going to hear about that, and just to pinpoint our listeners to Compassion's website, because maybe you're thinking, do you know, I hear Compassion on the radio, I see them at events, and it looks like something I'd like to get involved with. Maybe you've got a load of skills that you'd be able to bring to the organisation, because that's the thing about volunteering. There's such a wide variety of people who volunteer, and you can use the skills that God has given you. So go to the website, compassionuk.org, and more in just a moment. Some great messages coming through and people talking about how they've been volunteering over the years. Sandra actually has said that her husband frequently he volunteers to drive, and I love this, to drive the minibus for the school that their grandkids go to. And when they need to go on school trips and stuff, he's the person who drives it. Now, there's so many, and there'll be loads of these stories. People who volunteer and they give up time, like Tara, in fact, who is currently, she's slap bang in the middle of her studies and decided that that's not quite enough work for her to do. So she wants to volunteer instead. But for you, Tara, it all started with you sponsoring a child, didn't it?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, my parents had sponsored kids, and obviously as a 10-year-old, I didn't have a stable enough income to be able to support a child. So when I turned 16, I had a little job teaching piano, and I decided that I'd use my 16th birthday party as like a fundraiser for my compassion child, so I'd have a bit of extra cushion to be able to keep sponsoring them. And so that's how I got involved. And then as the kind of compassion world grew in Ireland, I was like, I would love to be part of that. And so spoke to Mage, our head of partnership, and that's how I got involved. So it was all with the sponsorship, essentially. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you were doing work, well, extra work in order to pay for your sponsored child.
Yeah, that's it. And then, yeah, the other money went to like chocolate and stuff, as a 16-year-old would.
You say that. So you were 16 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel really ashamed because when I was 16, that is not what I was doing at all. And it's just made me feel so immature because when I was 16, I was probably just, well, I suppose the phrase is mucking around, really. I was just, wasting my money on stupid things. But to do that at 16 is an incredible thing. And now to be actually giving your time to compassion is truly amazing. So, well, thank you, I guess, because it's amazing. And the impact that you are having on the organization and the children that you're sponsoring is just, it's changing lives. And we know that because we talk about it all the time on the radio station. And now, Laura, tell us about this, because how do you know that you're putting the right volunteer in the right place? Because we know for a fact that there's so many different skills at Connect Radio. There's those people who they volunteer and they want to be a presenter. That's all they want to do. They want to be front of house. And then there's the other people who, if you offered them a show, they literally leave the next day because they don't want to do it. But they've got fine skills and they love doing things like organizing. They love, sort of doing admin. I mean, for me, anybody who enjoys admin, you're a fabulous person, but I would hate to do that. I would hate to be sat in an office sorting out making sure that the right people are at the right events. So how do you ensure that the right people are doing the right roles?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is so important. But we also, what we love about it is that it does ask people, what is it that you want to bring? Bring your own skills, your own experience, your own passions. And so we've got various volunteering roles, our events team, we've got our speaker team speaking at churches, we've got prayer partners, we've got office volunteers, so doing that kind of more administration role, home church representatives and our champions, so there's lots to choose from. And so when people apply, we will have that conversation with them. What are you passionate about? What are your skills? What experience do you have that you feel that you can offer? And kind of within that conversation, it's then kind of looking at what is the best role for them, where they can be, where they can feel confident, where they can feel most effective, I suppose. And yeah, some of our roles we offer training for, and so sometimes that might help to kind of see where people's expertise lies. Do they have that skill to be able to speak publicly in churches, or maybe it is better being at events and talking one-on-one rather than addressing a crowd? Is it something that they just want to decide how they engage people in their own world with our champions role, raising that awareness or fundraising or things like that? Are they a passionate prayer warrior? Would they be best in our prayer team? So yeah, it's really kind of having that conversation and looking at where they can be most effective.
And this is available for anybody, isn't it? I mean, in a way, it will be a great opportunity because you get to go to loads of events. Now, Compassion, I don't know how many you've been to this year, but every one that I go to, Compassion are there. I was a little bit disappointed that, well, I didn't see the big blue elephant anyway at Big Church Festival, but we certainly saw it at Spring Harvest. And it would be a great opportunity for you to experience some of these events because they can cost quite a lot of money to go there on a little holiday break, but you can be volunteering with Compassion and you can go to some of these events free of charge, of course. And how can people volunteer? So people listening to this right now, there may be the next Tara out there. They may be the next event coordinator helper who's thinking, do you know what? I've worked in events for many years and I want to give something back. What did he do?
Absolutely. So if anyone's interested, like you said before, you can go onto our volunteering page on the website, so compassionuk.org. And there are details there, again, of all the roles that I've just kind of touched upon. And you simply just need to express your interest, click on the little tab there, fill out a short form, and we'll get in contact with you, have that conversation, see what it is that you want to get involved with, and yeah, talk you through that and help get you started.
Ladies, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time. And remember, if anything that we've spoken about, it's got you thinking, then head over to the Compassion website. Everything you need is on there to volunteer, to pray for the organisation, or of course to sponsor a child. It's compassionuk.org.